All right, guys, we have the incredible Ryan McCathie, Exercise Physiologist of the Year and a specialist in cystic fibrosis. My name is Cam, if you don't know, and today we're going to be talking about all things cystic fibrosis and exercise. I'm raising money to increase awareness around cystic fibrosis and what can be done. We're gathering donations. Part of that is to challenge me to either a physical challenge or a costume challenge during my training for the Noosa Triathlon, which is what this money is going towards. Cystic Fibrosis is a partner of the Noosa Triathlon. And I thought it would be really relevant to talk to a man who's had an incredible amount of experience with CF and the influence that you can have from a physical point of view, the benefits that you can see, and also just to really give you an understanding of when you actually donate to something like cystic fibrosis, the money goes to very, very valuable places. And one of those places is the practice of Ryan's down in Newcastle. And welcome, Ryan. Thank you so much for your time today, mate. I know you're very busy.
No worries. Thanks for having me, Cam. Appreciate it.
Good stuff. So, mate, tell me a little bit about your background and sort of how you ended up looking down the cystic fibrosis path.
So, first of all, I'm an accredited exercise physiologist like yourself. We go to university for 4 years. I graduated from university and decided to venture over to London. I was lucky enough to get a job in the largest children's hospital in Europe, which is Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital in North London. And I worked on the cystic fibrosis ward as an exercise physiologist and working with, specifically that population day in, day out. There'd be 5 inpatients at a time. They'd go in for 2-week blocks. And there was a couple of hundred kids on their books there that we would see regularly throughout the year. So working very closely with them for 2 years, developed a passion for it, real interest in CF and real understanding of the importance of exercise and how important it really is. So working with them for 2 years, really developed that passion, came back to Newcastle, started my own business and sort of wanted to continue that on here in Newcastle and have that bit of focus on cystic fibrosis sufferers and trying to help them as much as I can.
Yeah, that's great, mate. And I remember because we were sitting next to each other at an awards night and where you hailed over all exercise physiologists in Australia, which was very impressive. And you were mentioning that there was a mindset of one group of essentially the normal trend for CF treatment is just management and just see how it goes. And you really had a bit of a light bulb with why aren't we applying exercise to these kids to see how their body responds. Can you just tell us a little bit about that sort of moment and that transition so that you really started pursuing the exercise side of things and looking to see if you can improve their capacity?
Yeah, well, there's lots of different treatments for cystic fibrosis and they should all be used in conjunction. But maybe 5-10 years ago, a lot of that treatment was just purely around different types of medications, nutrition, supplements, lots of different avenues that way. And more recently, over the last 5 years, there's been more and more research on the benefits of exercise on cystic fibrosis sufferers. And I've been reading this research and it's really shown some amazing results. Because it's so new, it hasn't really been implemented yet. So with these new results, I started implementing these protocols into these exercise training sessions with the children and started to see some amazing results. And the guidelines that were there beforehand was similar to just general exercise guidelines of 30 minutes of general aerobic exercise each day for the children, nothing really too specific for them. And I thought from a pure physiological point of view, we need to be challenging them in order for them to progressively overload and basically improve their exercise tolerance. So what I started to do was start to implement some high intensity interval training with the children to really sort of push them at their higher limits and make sure that it was in a safe, controlled environment at the same time. And I feel like we're getting some amazing results. And that's what the research does show, that some high intensity interval training is going to be really beneficial on so many levels.
Mate, that's fantastic. So, and when you started taking it to the high intensity interval training, just so that for some people in the know, like there'd be some people out there who are either no kids with CF or dealing with it themselves, or families or other health professionals, what markers and what kind of improvements were you actually seeing when you started introducing some of that training?
Yes. So obviously, because we're working them at that higher level, their exercise tolerance improved out of sight. But the main markers that we look at in measuring the outcomes is lung function and their cardiopulmonary fitness, which is done through a VO2 max test, which is the gold standard for aerobic fitness testing. Now, with the lung function, the average for a cystic fibrosis sufferer is that it decreases by 2 to 5% each year, and that's just part of the progressive disease. It decreases by 2 to 5%. Now, over our 12-month program, we found that for the majority of our patients, it didn't decrease at all, and for some patients, it actually increased for that 12 months, which is very rare, and so we know that their lung function was actually improving rather than decreasing, and all their VO2 max tests had increased as well. So yeah, their aerobic fitness had significantly improved as well, which is just going to help them with their activities of daily living as well, and being able to keep up with other friends and be able to play sports and things like that as well.
That's phenomenal. And I guess, because obviously there's some really great stuff going on with the VO2, but obviously you would have seen these kids just come alive and really feel like they had a bit more control back in their life. What were some of the more qualitative things that you noticed about their quality of life, about their mood, and just about how they took on life?
Yeah, well, I guess from a young age, being diagnosed with cystic fibrosis and being in that hospital system so often, I guess their parents and their whole team definitely sort of wrap them in a bit of cotton wool and try to take care of them and protect them as much as possible. But with our program, showing them how far we can actually push them in a safe environment really built their confidence in terms of how much they can exercise and how safe it actually is for them. So it allowed them to gain a bit of confidence when they are out and about with their friends that they will be okay, and that exercise is good for them. It improved the families as well. So research has shown that adolescents with cystic fibrosis are 2 to 3 times more likely to suffer from depression or anxiety, and so are the parents as well, because of what they go through. And we know that exercise is one of the best treatments for depression and anxiety, and we saw these rates decrease as well. So decreased rates of depression and anxiety, improved confidence. The parents were educated as well, and the parents are usually the greatest role models for the children as well. And we found that the parents started adopting a more healthy lifestyle as well, which led to the children exercising more regularly as well. So the parents would go out and make sure that exercise was part of their daily routine as well. So we're changing the whole family's sort of outlook on exercise and physical activity.
Yep, mate, fantastic. That's absolute gold. So when the kids were coming in, were they only doing the high intensity interval training with you? Were they able to do it outside as well? Like what creates a safe environment so that, because obviously you might have families who don't have a CF specialist clinic around. What are some of the ways that they could start, maybe incorporating some of this training or awareness around this training at home, or should they be reaching out to an ex-phys? What would you suggest?
Yeah, well, I definitely recommend reaching out to an exercise physiologist to begin with, just so you can get a bit of that education around what you should be doing and what are some red flags to be aware of. So the main way that we do make it safe is that we use a pulse oximeter, which is a little device that you pop on the end of your finger, and a lot of cystic fibrosis sufferers will know about this, and it measures your oxygen saturations and your heart rate. Now, the general rule that we use is if your oxygen saturations drop below 90%, you should stop exercising and allow your body to rest, and you should always be exercising in that 90 to 100% range. If you're ever below that, then we know that, we're quite at a bit of a risk there. So what we do is we provide all the children in our program with one of those pulse oximeters, and we designed a home-based exercise program for them using the app PhysiTrack. And we also introduced them to another app called Swerkit, which is a children's high-intensity interval training app that makes it fun. So these two apps, the children will see us once a week, but we would make sure they'd be doing these another 2 or 3 times during the week as well. So they were doing them in the comfort of their own living room, or doing it in the backyard, or doing it at a local park. As long as they've got an iPhone or an iPad or a computer, then they can do their exercise.
That's magic. We'll make sure that those little links for those apps are below this. That's really cool. So probably that's fantastic practical advice. With the thing that I was really interested in you talking about as well, because obviously my world is in personalization and making sure that each individual is actually getting what they need specifically for them. And we see differences in mothers and kids. We see really vast differences in one child to another. And you've noticed the same thing as well. You might have a couple of kids, both like a brother and sister or a brother and brother, who actually respond to the exercise differently. Just I would love to understand a little bit about your experience with that and essentially your interpretation of why those differences might be occurring.
Yeah, so one of the best examples was that I was seeing a pair of twins. They were both 13 years old, a male and a female, and they're both suffering from cystic fibrosis. And it sort of just goes to show how much the genetic factors do play a part as well. So the male was doing all he could in terms of strength training and exercise. Yet his lung function had decreased quite significantly, and that was purely from a genetic factor, whereas the female wasn't doing as much exercise compared to him, was eating the same diet, and her lung function was significantly higher, and so was her VO2 max. So although exercise is one of the best treatments for it, there still is no cure for cystic fibrosis, unfortunately. And we know that there's a huge genetic factor involved, which we do need to get on top of, which more and more research is coming out, and we're getting closer and closer to a great understanding, hopefully a cure for it. So yeah, it's quite interesting at the moment. But when individualizing the programs, we like to do initial assessments to understand what their capacities are. We have patients where their lung function might only be 30%, and we have other patients that are well over 100% in terms of their lung function. So we tailor those exercises, and as long as we're working towards their personalised threshold,
yep,
then we know that we're going to be gaining results.
Fantastic, yeah. And this is where I think our worlds would collide quite nicely, because we're seeing some very interesting results around the chronobiological effect of exercise, and when you exercise in the day can actually have a differing effect for different people as well. So it might be something that we can collaborate on in the future. Yeah. Mate, so thank you so much for your time today. Like, it's obviously there's a wealth of knowledge in there, and I think for the people at home who are wanting to actually take some action, I think your steps would be, if you're really wanting to take control of lung function, at least through exercise. Obviously there's other modalities as well, but exercise is such a critical component of so many elements of your health. Number one would probably be going to see an exercise physiologist who's got some sort of experience in lung function, or CF would be preferable. Understanding that, like, safety as a bare essential would be just checking oxygen levels. And then there's some great little apps that you can use at home to support the training that you're doing with the XPhys as well. Would that be a fair summary of how people should take action?
Yes, I 100% believe that. Yeah, as long as you're seeing an exercise physiologist, we are the most qualified professional to be prescribing exercises, and you're in safe hands with a qualified exercise physiologist. So I definitely recommend seeing one of those.
Awesome, mate. Thank you so much again, and congratulations on all your work. Well done for. I know there was a huge research grant that you won as a result of you just going out and applying. And for me, probably the most amazing thing about it was that this money that was used as a grant was actually put straight into the kids so that they could have a year-long program and improve or maintain their lung function, which, as far as research dollars should be spent, it's so great that CF are actually doing that. And so this is one of the reasons why I jumped on board and made sure that all of the effort that we were going towards was going towards CF. So thank you again, mate. And hopefully maybe partway through the year, we might do an update and see we're all traveling. And if we've got some more information to give the guys, that'd be great.
Yeah, awesome. No worries. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, mate.